what type of searcher are you? So are you the type to find something in less than 10? 10 to 20 or above 20? And do you sometimes give up? And then I'll share my own.
You mean in terms of my own viewer behavior?
Yeah.
Well,
your own viewer behavior.
I'm the worst one to ask that question because I have young kids.
Welcome everyone to another edition of Streaming Made Easy, where I bring smart people to talk about complicated topics. This week we have Gijs Davelaar from Media Press. Welcome, Raïse.
Thank you, Marion. Thank you.
Super nice having you on board. So the Media Press team is going to be a partner to Streaming Made Easy Live, taking place on September 11th. They're actually our platinum sponsor. We're going to be organizing a workshop, a lunch. They will be coming in to do a keynote with a client of theirs. And essentially, the premise of Media Press and Raïse is that metadata is kind of the unsung hero of streaming, right, Raïse?
Yes, I think if you look at metadata, as we also discussed before this interview, metadata is the foundation of everything that drives the industry, and that's we'll talk about that hopefully today as well. Yeah, that's what we strongly believe.
And so, for those who maybe do not know what it is, what is metadata? Like, if you could break it down very simply for non-tech people, what is that?
Yeah, so the sheer volume of content being produced today creates a paradox. While there is more content than ever before, much of it is invisible for many users. So discovery has become the bottleneck, and audiences are basically overwhelmed by choice and underwhelmed by navigation. In this environment, metadata is key. And discovery isn't a luxury. It's basically a front line for viewer engagement, retention, and monetization.
And so when I hear metadata, I think about, massive CSV XML files, describing a piece of content. Is that what this is?
Well, obviously metadata in the media and entertainment industry, but also in the measurement industry, everyone creates their own reality. Everyone works in silos, and the definition of metadata can be explained in multiple ways. So obviously the metadata that we're talking about today is about content, the video content. What is it? What is it for? How should we categorize it? And it can be descriptive. So that's the title, the genre, the cast and crew stuff. Editorial metadata, which is synopsis, themes, descriptions, moods. But obviously also technical metadata like formats, language, aspect ratios for the images, a lot of other elements out there. So metadata is the connecting tissue that powers everything from basic search to advanced personalization. So really the recommendation engines are powered by the metadata. And it's not just back-end hygiene. I think it's really the foundation, the scaffolding more or less of the front-end strategy for the business models, the transformation of business models that you aim to roll out as well.
I love that. So I have to say, anyone working in this business, being a client, a subscriber myself, this resonates, very true. The fact that we're overwhelmed, I don't know what to choose. And ultimately what I found myself, doing these last few years more and more is either rewatching something that I've watched before or, going back to linear, this old thing, right? Where actually someone else is deciding on, what I'm supposed to be watching. It's becoming, I could file for divorce on choosing what to watch with my husband. It's, you have it comes with great responsibility what you guys are doing at Media Press. So the question I have for you is, in action, how does that translate? Like some simple example of how, as users, we're interacting with metadata without realizing it. You mentioned universal search.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, so universal search is obviously something where different content suppliers come together. So good metadata is precision tagging. You have channels, you have streaming catalogs, you have fast channels, you have super bundling. So the various content suppliers, they need search recommendation and monetization, whether that's across linear TV, replay TV, streaming, or fast. And yes, we as consumers, we watch it, but obviously there's a business model underlying for whether it's a telco or a streaming platform or a broadcaster. And the metadata ensures that the recommendation engines understand the content independently within, let's say, streamer A, B, or C, but also across the different platforms or the different content suppliers. And yes, obviously, in some cases, there are some business model conflicts. Like there are certain streamers that won't allow their content to be found in an aggregated user interface. Where I think, from a pan-European perspective, I think this is a massive opportunity also for the local broadcasters and streamers to take benefit of that and to really be found in this aggregated metadata environment. When tagging is nuanced and when the multi-dimensional platforms can service exactly the right content at the right moment, you can maximize engagement. And I think that's key, especially for the pan-European media industry, to survive or to coexist in a world of big tech streaming companies.
Yeah, 100%. Because if I look at whether that's a pay TV telco platform, a CTV platform, it's a mix of app first and content first styles essentially, and so everyone is fighting for those first. Well, we would hope it could be just a few seconds or minutes before we make a decision. It's unfortunately longer, right? But everyone is fighting to get that real estate. Not everyone has, the name, the money to be featured like that. And so what you're saying, if I understand correctly, what you're saying is that where metadata is extremely powerful is that it's another point of entry. May that be in the genre category, in the universal search, where you can surface your content and it's attributed to you. So if I'm looking for something of XYZ, it's going to take me to, a TF1, a BBC, a Netflix, etc. The thing is, in a world where everything is exclusive, then it takes you to either one or the other. How does that work in search? And maybe I'm, going a bit over what you know on things like that. But if I have the same title from different providers, what happens essentially?
Yeah. So let me take you to another example. You and I, we go shopping. We go to a supermarket or we go to a big hall. And every time we go shopping, let's take the example of the supermarket, we see different products at eye level, or we see them at lower level or higher level. That's basically what we do. We help companies to get their content presented at eye level. And we do that in a way, because it's digital, that it filters out the different profiles for the different target groups. So yeah, that's basically what we do. And you have to realize that more and more telcos have smaller teams to do all the integrations. So as a partner to a lot of telcos, a partner of streaming platforms and smart TV vendors, we help with ecosystem integrations. So that is, for them, it's just one integration where, for example, we have over 10,000 broadcasting TV channels that we are pre-integrated with. All the streaming catalogs in Europe are on our platform. So that really brings economies of scale that also the industry can benefit from. And I think the difference between MediaPress in this case with a lot of the competing companies is that we enable collaboration. We basically are pushing the industry to start collaborating within one ecosystem.
Does that mean, because my mind goes directly to, this is a very fragmented ecosystem. If everyone doing its own thing, it means that, all that work, all that integration needs to be done, not on a case by case basis, but let's say it's not just, you press a button and essentially, you have that standardized metadata. So are you saying that you're trying to push for some sort of a standard across the industry, like an ID that would make that integration easier?
Yeah, well, I think a standard, as we learned in the industry, VHS was a standard, Betamax was a standard. Which one survived? The one with the highest penetration. Yeah. We're the largest metadata company across Europe because of the penetration with most of the telcos. It's not that we push for an industry standard. We basically say let's find the way of least resistance together. and let's enable the industry for collaboration. And that's what we try to do. And we will showcase exactly this case also during the Stream Made Easy event, because that's a nice pan-European client that we work with, and we did the first rollout with this company.
And so the question I have for you is, does that mean that everything that we see on screen is everything done automatically, or is there still room for, human curation, right? Where are you in there?
Well, obviously, the big buzz of IBC 2025 will be artificial intelligence.
Yeah,
Reality
like
is,
last year.
well, reality is, media press. We already have AI in production for more than 10 years. Like
Okay.
all the cast and crew tagging from photos is AI already for years. At IBC, we'll showcase what we do today in that landscape. But even today, human curation is still essential, particularly in defining tone, emotional
Yeah.
nuances, and cultural context. That said, I mean, automation excels at scale, but
Yeah.
consistency can only arrive from proper model training. We have 30 years archive, and as a result, we were able to train the models based on our archive, and no one has a similar archive like we have. So that gives us a lot of advantages to really support clients in many cases. But yeah, the future from my perspective is hybrid. It's not
Okay.
AI completely.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely.
And so you were saying, so of course, I mean, in mix, I see the equation, right?
Mhm.
If I find content quickly,
Yeah.
I start watching, I'm engaged,
Mhm.
therefore, I can be monetized, whether that's,
Yeah.
as part of my subscription or because I'm being served ads or a mix of both.
Yeah.
Do you have any examples on, how you can improve that monetization even further, right? Meaning it's not just
Mhm.
people are watching, therefore you can monetize. Any things that comes to mind?
Yeah, I think if you look at it at today's trend, we see from a business perspective, we see the big streamers launching their ad-funded subscriptions.
Yeah.
Metadata not just drives user interfaces, as we said, but basically the strategy and the ability to monetize. From live, for example, linear TV, you can trigger monetization on replay TV
Yeah.
in a different way than legacy broadcaster playout environments can do. So that's where I see the connection between metadata and monetization, because most people don't watch live TV anymore; they watch replay in replay TV mode. The same from linear to fast channels. Obviously, there is a business model conflict between linear broadcasters and telcos about content licensing. But I think that the key for both sides of the industry is to find a collaborative model where you can start testing what works, what doesn't. And replay TV is a nice way to do that. Fast is another way to do that. But obviously, migration from subscription to ad-funded streaming is what everyone is looking for. And accurate metadata can be the foundation of targeted advertising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that means that, essentially the more you know, the more you activate, the more precise you can be, not just in what you push in terms of content, but the advertising as well, right? So
Yeah,
do
yeah,
you
yeah.
yeah,
And one thing there, I think it's very important because you see a lot of silos and technology
yeah,
silos as well. I think the key is that you can create economies of scale in publishing, in publication
yeah,
models, and that is what we aim for as a company, to support both telcos, smart TV vendors, and studios and broadcasters to really collaborate within an ecosystem where everyone creates their own reality within their metadata needed in their archives, in their systems. But the tagging and the mapping of the different content pieces, they come together in one system. And that's what we can showcase also at IBC, is really that we bring those elements from metadata, video, and AI all together in one ecosystem.
so what are you seeing in terms of, because this feels like this business, both your company and the metadata business has been, it's been in, around the block for years, right? So what's new? What are the new use cases that, you're seeing for you and your customers?
Yeah, I think the big challenge for the whole industry is the business model transformation. And
Yeah.
how can you create flexibility as a company in a global market,
Yeah.
or in a market where there is further globalization? For us, I think what we see most is how can we support clients in improving their existing metadata flows. That's by creating an ecosystem for the industry to collaborate. That's what we see as a first example.
Yes, right.
The
Well, in
second,
such a fragmented ecosystem,
yeah,
in terms of where your content, where your IP can be, if you don't do that, your content on the other side, they won't do it, right? Where it's quite fascinating to see how the world is a bit divided in the content owners who want to be, as widely distributed as possible. But
mm,
the end game where they're going to land is a very fragmented ecosystem where a lot of those companies thrive on fragmentation and on building those silos. And I'm particularly talking about the CTV platforms, right? Where you have 15 plus different OSs. And I mean, it's making it hard for content companies to actually, thrive.
yeah, but that's why we strongly believe that metadata should be a virtual layer that you
Yeah,
control as a company. So whatever you do in an ecosystem with the likes of Google, Netflix, Amazon, obviously you need them for reach.
yeah,
But at the same time, making sure that you remain keeping control over your intellectual property, your assets, and everything. That is where we can help companies to on the one hand create an aggregated platform, and on the other hand build a collaboration. And so and bringing this metadata in a roadmap, I think, towards the industry where we combine metadata with video extraction, with artificial intelligence. I think that is what I think is the key driver of the success
yeah.
for any company in the industry.
The winning recipe. I think there's a mindset shift that needs to happen and actually needs to happen at the production level, whether we're talking creator media or big media, to be very IP first. If you think about the IP
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that this is your gold,
Yeah,
right? And this is what you want to see grow as much as possible. With the IP goes the metadata, right?
yeah.
I think it's super intertwined. So during Streaming Made Easy Live, it's very interesting. I'm bringing Greg Bivalski, is the MD of Webedia Creators.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to be talking about the changes needed at creators as they go more professional, meaning that they started, from scratch and they learned as they went. But come a moment now where, when you're asking them to dig up the back catalog, they don't have it stored anywhere.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of thing, because when you look at the business, I see what you're trying to do with big media and, traditional and legacy companies. But I think one thing that you guys should take a close look at is the creator economy. Those are the new creators and the
Yeah.
new IP providers of the coming years. And they're going to need the same, tech and mindset that you're trying to instill in legacy players.
Yeah, and I think to respond to that, I think whether the content comes from, let's say, creator media, PewDiePie kind of person, or from Animal Shine kind of company,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. The thing that everyone has to look at, especially, is the value chain and
Yeah.
how the value chain is built up, and what you can do as a company to improve fluency in your value chain to distribute the content, not just to the TV platforms, but also for let's say promotional purposes.
Yeah, yeah,
How
yeah.
can you link? How can you link a promotional video on TikTok or Snapchat back to the content
Yeah.
which you have on platform A or B? That's where our ID initiative will also touch upon during your event, because we're showcasing that algorithms are changed on a daily basis by those big tech companies. And if algorithms are changed, that impacts your viewability, your searchability of your content. So you need to be able to get back to a story where you say, okay, I revoked the content, I reprocessed the content because the algorithm has changed. Boom, here you go. Now I'm found again. So that is the key, I think, also for the industry to start to understand that yes, you need to collaborate with big tech. Yes, you need to make your content visible on those platforms. At the same time, creating an independent virtual layer of metadata,
Yeah.
I think is the key for many companies in the industry.
Okay, so what type of searcher are you? So are you the type to find something in less than 10?
Mm-hmm.
10 to 20 or above 20? And do you sometimes give up? And then I'll share my own.
You mean in terms of my own viewer behavior?
Yeah.
Well,
Your own viewer behavior.
I'm the worst one to ask that question because I have young kids, 6 and 8, so I hardly watch TV.
Well, okay, fair enough.
So
Interesting.
on top of that, I'm still doing an MBA, so evening hours usually is studying and a lot of other things. But
Okay, so I love it. You don't have time to watch TV. Fair
no,
enough.
no. Well, in fact, if you ask me what I do most is I really search for certain shows, and what I like, for example, is a case that we do in the German market, where there is, and also in the Dutch market, where we have updates from Replay TV on
Yeah.
the topics in a show. So we do that. We'll showcase that also at IBC. It's really making my experience of, let's say, those shows, or whether it's a new show or entertainment show, I can really switch to the items immediately, because the updates that we created as a result show in your user interface, not in live, but in replay. And usually I watch in replay, so for me it's perfect. So that's how I search, or that's how I watch my content.
Nice.
Now, back to you.
Yeah, me. So I have young kids. A bit older than you, I guess, but I'm a bit of a TV and movie addict. So I make time. I manage to make time.
Yeah.
So a few things I said at the top. Sometimes I end up watching stuff that I've watched already. Sometimes I go to live. No, the one thing in terms of discovering new things,
Yeah.
and I think I'm not the only. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Maybe I'm not the main use case, but I feel a lot of my discovery is happening off platform. And so I think that shows how discovery is actually broken, because if I need to go somewhere else besides the platform itself to find recommendation for something to watch, then that's just wrong, right? But so that's where search is very handy for me. I use that a lot because essentially I gather ideas off platform, whether that's friends, magazines and stuff, and then I go type it in.
Well, that's a showcase that we'll bring to your event. We'll tell more about it during the event.
Okay, no spoiler, because we want people to come on board.
Yeah.
But okay, cool. And so one more question for you, and then we're going to be at time. But what is one use case or integration you've seen where you felt like, oh, this is cool, and it can't be from you, otherwise it's cheating, right?
It's not. It's basically, and I see this all across the board and at all the companies. I think the main message is invest in the transformation of your organization. Yeah. Invest in the people's mindset, in jointly solving business model conflicts that we're seeing in the industry. Find a way to coexist. That's really the way forward for many of those companies. And shaping the future is the payoff of IBC. Shaping the future of metadata is what we do and where we can help. Yeah. But I would definitely say, if you want to shape the future, start with the transformation of your company.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I do feel more and more at companies within media and entertainment, but I'm sure it's the same in other markets. But how can we, again, understand today's audiences or the future audiences, if we are stuck in our ways, right? And so I'm super surprised when I hear about people talking about XYZ, but they've never used any of this. And so how are they supposed to understand and build a business and a platform that is supposed to super serve such a fragmented way of consuming content, especially, depending on which geo of the world you're in, which demo you are. I'm the oldest millennial. I'm 45 this year. Surely I don't really completely understand how it is to consume video content at 20. I know this, but so many companies and folks do not understand it. I think I agree with you. Doing that transformation now, people should be doing that on their own. But I agree with companies who need to equip folks. And a great example will be: are they going to be able to equip, their staff?
Yeah, and if
their businesses,
and if you want to see that business or that transformation, I would say for any company, do a real demo with young kids, and you see whether your solution is fit for the future or not.
I love that. Thank you so much, Raïse. Thanks everyone for spending time with Raïse and I to talk all things metadata. So Raïse and team will be at Streaming Made Easy Live on September 11th. In the show notes, you'll have a link to Media Press, but also to SME Live, should you want to be part of the fun. Again, thank you so much for your time. See you next time.